Hey guys, this is Light, and the RTA season is starting in about a week, and it's time for a tier list. So if this is your first time watching these, I'll explain how I do them. Also, keep in mind, if you're a newer player, this tier list is specifically for RTA. In Guild War and Arena, some units will be way better because like it's a very controlled environment, but again, this is strictly for RTA. So yeah, if this is your first time watching any of these, basically every season I make a base tier list that pretty much explains most of the rankings, and the following tier list videos will go over what changes between videos. And as for the tiers, you can basically consider them like a unit gearing priority list kind of thing, because I highly value a unit's pickability. For example, if you can be picked every single game, you're going to be very high tier compared to a unit that's only pickable in maybe like 1 out of 20 games. And also, I don't really rank cleave units because like they're kind of weird. I believe most cleave units are only as good as like their opener, or like vice versa. So it gets a little weird ranking them. And if you were wondering, yes, TML is decent in cleave. Not as good as Bryce area though, unfortunately. But yeah, let's get into it. So for a tier 0, we have Scales, Nodos, DN, and tier 0 is pick or ban. I truly believe that these units are actually the most unbearable units in the game. For some reason, Scales is still tier 0 even though it's been 3 seasons. I'm sure Small Gate will do something this time. But yeah, Scales is very consistent. She's resistant to cleave, and don't tell me Hecate solves her, because Hecate doesn't. She just makes her team unkillable, and there are a lot of annoying synergies like Scales plus Ruel. Like Ruel protects herself with S3, and then like you can't kill her, target. And like yeah, she makes her team do a lot of damage. She makes her team unkillable, and she's very annoying still. Definitely has no solution currently, but maybe this season will be different. Then we have Nodos. I know Nodos is very controversial right now, but I do think he's basically the god of the game. He presses S3, and he's very likely to just win the game, because when he presses S3, he becomes unkillable, and then he has enough damage to basically kill 2 units minimum. And like, I know a lot of people will say like, oh, just cleave him, but that's not a very reliable thing to do, and most people can't cleave, so we're gonna rule that out. For example, when you cleave, you must be faster than the other person, so you have to gear gap them. And then you also need to land your debuffs, so you have to hope RNG goes your way with 15%. And then yeah, you just have to hope for a lot of things when you cleave, and it's typically not gonna go your way like a fair amount of the time. So yeah, I don't really believe in any unit whose answer is just cleaving them. And I know some people will be like, oh, but I can beat Nodos with my evasion units. Well, good for you, but I don't think it's very reliable. Because like the thing about Nodos is that he can quite literally like 1v3, right? So what if someone picks like anti-evasion units? Or what if someone goes Nodos, right? And then they'll pick like suicide units like Tori to just kill your evasion units. And then Nodos is gonna clean you up. It's not reliable. Or like what if like someone picks Nodos and then you start slamming evasion units and they just cleave your butt? Because you picked evasion units, and then you're you're kind of like, you're kind of weak to cleave, right? I think every solution to Nodos has decent counterplay. Besides Bryce area cleave, but there's no counterplay to Bryce area cleave anyway, unless you gear gap people. But yeah, I think in terms when it's like equal gear, equal player, the person with Nodos has a significant advantage, and it really shows in like the current stats right now. Like Nodos is very hard for anybody to deal with. Unless you are completely gapping the other person in both like, you know, luck, money, gear, whatever. I think he's very strong. And then yeah, not much else to say. Very strong. Although there is a bit of learning curve with him though. He doesn't like units that are buff heavy, but he does like units who are passive heavy, right? Like Nodos will be really good with stuff like Setsuka. He's really good with anything with like a strong passive, because he doesn't turn off passives. So yeah, pretty sick unit. And also we have Little Dien. This unit is the Demon Child. She makes every sort of cleave aggro basically 10 times stronger by being the best cleave bridge in the game. And like, I glaze this unit enough. Like, she's a cleave bridge, she's a book hoarder, she can ignore ER without using her own book. Like she's like a cheat unit. Like the unit is completely disgusting. And she's broken with cleave, she's resistant against cleave. You can use her in slow play to like really mess people up. Yeah. Really insane unit. Very versatile. Not too much to say. Then we have the S plus tier. So these units you're gonna pick these units alongside the tier 0 units, of course, and they're all very strong with minimal counterplay. Start with Nurse Yuha. Yuha is very good in that, you know, she's a reviver, but also she's resistant to debuffs. Like her passive is one of the only things that kind of deals with Sigrid. But then when you combine like Sigrid plus Yuha, it's like they're running laps around you, but also they're denying you the best cleanser. And then like she has insane synergy with Ruel too. Like if you played RTA like just a bit last season, you would know like the most meta draft is Yuha plus Ruel. It's like you try to kill them, right? Like you kill them and then they just revive each other and then boom, suddenly they're full HP again. Like Yuha plus Ruel chain revive was the most toxic thing last season. And it gets worse when you combine them with certain units I'll explain later. But yeah, Yuha top tier for being a reviver, but also she's very flexible. Like you can build her slow and tanky to survive some stuff, or you can build her like close to 300 speed, and like you can use like a cutting artifact because she's a thief. Like you can use Sword Storm, or you can even use like Sigrid's glorious flag to make her a bridge for Zio or something. That was one of my favorite cheeses last season. I played like a 300 Yuha with Zio and no one expected her to be the bridge. She's just really flexible. A nice revive, super OP passive. Yeah, really flexible and strong unit. And then we have Sigrid. Sigrid is a Sigrid is like the next generation of broken debuffer. Like you thought it was bad with the white Tenebria having uncleansable, debilitating debuffs. But now we have Flag Sigrid, who has a strip speed up, pushback, potentially 2-turn stun, and another full strip on her S2 and triple dual attack, and a target, so she's strong against evasion units. So her cycling is S3, S2, S3, S2 with Goblet of Oath. That is literally like the next tier of debuffer. Like it doesn't get better than this. Like she literally does not let you play the game, and like her counterplay is either cleaving her or I don't know. She's really obnoxious. And like only stuff like Yuha has kind of a positive matchup against her. Cause like Yuha can like, you know, cleanse the fears automatically, but that's about it. But when they have both Secret and Yuha, you are in for a bad time. And then we have Ruel. Ruel is the most resistant unit in the game to getting murdered. Her passive makes it so that you can't just kill her because she's gonna revive, steal your turn, and revive something. And like that makes her resistant to everything, right? She's resistant to damage, she's resistant to debuffs because you have to kill her eventually and then she revives. Although no, you can be debuffed to death, but she still has value because it's very hard to actually stop a Ruel revive. And yeah, she's pretty much like the only thing in the game that kind of stops like raw damage cleave pretty much. But Ruel, insane value, super insane value because she's just very hard to actually kill. So like she gets value almost no matter what, unless you're getting Bryceria cleaved, but it's very hard to Bryceria cleave people without gear gapping them. And then we have Arunka. Arunka is still pretty good. If you play Arunka, ideally, you'll want to play Arunka with like a protect the DPS kind of draft, like Arunka with like Celine on 3 or even Tori on 3, or even yeah, and like Arunka is just really good overall. If you play slower drafts that revolve around like protecting a damage dealer. But otherwise she's pretty whatever. I don't think she's a very good standalone damage dealer anymore because everything in the game is too tanky, and also she doesn't do enough damage against Ruel. So it gets really awkward. I prefer her as like a protecting kind of knight. So yeah, and then we have Renak. Renak is Renak. She's like the fastest unit in the game. That's a very high threat. And like she basically forces you to speed up to outspeed her or slow down, and then she'll take advantage of you with like, you know, high tempo units or debuffers, and she's still really strong. However, the whitest area does have a pretty positive matchup against her, to be fair. But she's still very strong. Really good with Ruel, really good with Arunka and everything. Definitely one of the more reliable damage dealers. But well, unfortunately though, she needs quite a bit of speed to play. Yeah, she's still. It's been a year and she's still pretty insane. And we have Ilinav. There's not really anything. I really night like protection set knights are kind of weak these days. Besides Ilinav, because like Ilinav always has value from her passive. But yeah, it's a solid unit still. She's just good for existing. Yeah, that's about it. Then we have Maid Chloe. Maid Chloe, still really good in like turn 2 versus turn 2. And she has more tempo than Ruel. She has more healing than Ruel, but a slight issue with her is that she's not as resistant as Ruel. Like Ruel can survive like big damage, but Maid Chloe, same issue with Yuha, right? Maid Chloe and Yuha, like they're actually killable, unlike Ruel. So they're more like aggressive high tempo revivers compared to her. But they're still Mei Chloe's still really strong. Like in turn 2 versus turn 2, Mei Chloe has a huge advantage because like her buffs are just so good. And like she's like the best healer basically right now. You know, still a good unit. Then we have Emerald Polly. She's still a really good opener. Like her passive has a lot of value. You know, still super value S3, speed down, push back, and then the tree branch makes her CR pusher too. Still a really, really good unit. It has super synergy with hyper carries. Although her biggest weakness though is like getting outsped by Renak, but yeah, it's still really, really strong high tempo opener who's not completely all in. That's what I appreciate about her. Like she has like some anti-cleave to her, right? Like with the resource reduction and also her stealth. She's not as like all in as like TML, Bryceria, and Ran and whatever. Like she's like a very aggressive tempo unit. Still solid. And we have free Ren. I think free Ren is still it is still like really, really top tier. I think free Ren's existence is really bad for the game because she does 1,000,000 damage and she's resistant to dying. Like her passive is just way too OP for a unit that does this much damage. She's the reason why I don't think Bologna is that insane, because like Bologna can't kill free Ren. And Tori can't reliably kill free Ren either. If this wasn't the case, I would rate these units a bit higher. But unfortunately, free Ren destroys a lot. Like, so here's the thing. You can list like 10 free Ren counters, right? But think about it like this. Do those free Ren counters if those, oh, sorry, I had a stroke. Do those free Ren counters still counter free Ren if there's a Ruel and Yuha? Like, you can say Bihu counters free Ren. Well, too bad. I'm gonna revive my free Ren with Ruel or Yuha or even Maid Chloe. Like, as far as I'm concerned, every free Ren counter is too one and done. Like, free Ren gets revived and then you just murder people. And also her passive is very it's very, very useful. It's very anti-cleave. Like, I think everything that counters free Ren is just like they can't they can kill free Ren, but they won't be able to deal with free Ren's revivers. That's why last season I think the most cookie cutter draft for Legend was Ruel, Yuha, free Ren on 3. I spammed this draft to top 10. It was way too easy. I had two guildies that played this draft as well. Like, I don't know. I'm disgusted by Freerun. I think they need to get her out of the game if they want to make a viable DPS. Like Bologna folds to Freerun, Tori folds to Freerun, Bellion loses to Freerun if you have revivers. Ross naturally loses to Freerun because of her immunity. Freerun can outlast Setsuka. Celine has other counters already. Like Freerun just has way too positive of a matchup against other units, especially when revivers are involved. Cause she does so much damage. So you just keep reviving your Freerun and she's gonna kill everything eventually. That's what I don't like about her. So yeah. Easy S plus tier. I hope they do something about her, because she really, really hurts the viability of damage dealers. I hate it. And also she's a cleave unit too, of course. So yeah, really, really strong unit. And then we have the new Byblis. This is my preliminary ranking for her. I think she'll be really, really strong. She's gonna make your team really tanky. She's anti-debuff to some extent. She's anti-cleave to some extent. She's really good in turn 2 because of her S3 and sober and dual attack finishing potential. I think she has a lot going for her. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I do have a lot of faith in her though. So yeah, I'll preemptively give her an S plus. I do think she'll be really good and she might be worth being in every game, but who knows? Who knows? I'm probably wrong though. but it's fun to make predictions about units, right? I think she'll be S tier minimum. S tier minimum for me. And not just because she's cute. And then let's go to the common picks. So we have Asteria. I already feel like Asteria is falling off. I didn't think she was that insane last season besides randomly robbing people. If you're second pick, she's unpickable because someone's just gonna slam Morden to you last pick and then it's just awkward. Yeah, I don't know. She's the reason Mord's win rate is inflated. She also has a bad matchup into Setsuka. And she also has a bad matchup into the new Bologna, and she also gets one shot by Tori now. So I don't really know where this unit is going besides being as a last pick. Honestly, I don't know. I think she has a positive matchup against Celine though. Against like Celine, against Renak, but it's pretty whatever. Like this unit is quite the liability a lot of the time. But I still want to believe in her. I still think she's really decent. It's just a bit hard to pick her outside of 4-5. But yeah, I still think she's really good though. But it kind of sucks that she's basically unpickable as second pick. But yeah, then we have the new Collie. She's really good. Um, she is she is unprecedented. I might even I debated putting her high prio, but I think she gets cheesed kind of too easily. Because like she can get cheesed by like a really fast Lionheart. Like I was tempted to put her up here, but I'll hold off on it. Um, but yeah, she's unprecedented. So this unit is a 12 speed imprint that bridges herself. That's the first of its kind. And she also has a double strip into AoE stun. That's also a first of its kind for a speed imprint. So the thing about speed imprints, I'm sorry, this is like some old people. This is like some old people stuff. But speed imprints are balanced around the fact that they do not bridge themselves, and they have minimal utility. Like look at Vildred, look at Green Sid, look at Fire Shuri. They just do damage, right? Look at Wanderer's Silk, because she has a single strip into pushback and like a dual attack if she gets a second turn. They have very minimal utility and they don't bridge themselves to make the race fair, right? But this Collie, she bridges herself while being a speed imprint. That's kind of unfair. So basically, if you're fighting a cleaver and someone slams the Collie, they have a huge advantage in the race already, which is really annoying. And like on top of that, she also does a billion damage and AoE stuns people, so that's kind of insane. I think that kind of speaks I think that kind of speaks for itself how insane she is. But she is cheesable. Like being like a guaranteed like follow-up attack when you have like Renek or something, that is cheesable. She's a very predictable unit unless the other person or unless you're picking a unit with an AoE or a non-attack skill. If you play her with an opener that's guaranteed to single target on their first turn, that's when it's a little dicey. Although units like DN kind of solve that issue. But yeah, but besides that, Collie is insane. But just cheesable. But yeah, but if you don't pick her with like Renek and TML, she's not cheesable though. She's really broken otherwise. And then we have the newly buffed Tori. I actually think Tori, as far as like pickable units go, I think she's not that bad. Her bad matchup is Freeren and Arunka though. Like, to play Tori, you must have Freeren. Sorry, to play Tori, you must be protecting her with Arunka, or Arunka is banned. Um, yeah, but the really nice part about Tori is that Tori cannot be feared by Sigrid turn 1, and then Tori has hit chance buff to kill Sigrid on turn 1. I think that by itself makes Tori valuable. Cause like what other unit can do that? What damage dealer is immune to Sigrid but will also kill her on turn 1? It's not Ross. It's not Bologna. It's not Celine. It's not Freeren. It's Tori. Like shockingly, Tori is the only damage dealer who will reliably do this without outside assistance, right? So yeah, that in and of itself makes Tori very valuable to me. I've been playing her quite a bit, and she is kind of growing on me. However, she is an RNG unit. If you don't cascade for fun, you will just lose probably. But she has a decent chance to cascade. So yeah, for me, Tori is the easiest. But because she's weak to double reviver, she's weak to Arunka. She's also, it's kind of difficult to play into Renak. It's difficult to play into Freeren. It's probably gonna be difficult to play into Byblis. It's difficult to play into Assyria. I can't put her higher than this. But yeah, I think she's really good in a lot of cases. And then we have the newly buffed blue Dian. I think she's also pretty valuable for similar reasons as Tori. Dian got a buff that makes her as fast as Ahmed, which means you have a unit that has a high chance to outspeed Sigrid and can double cleanse with like, you know, both of her buttons, and she can buff stack your team if you have immunity to prevent the Sigrid from fearing you. So Dian is pretty valuable, and she gives your team tempo too with the CR push and attack buff. Like I've been playing a lot of Dian Tori and it feels pretty good. Like, I think Dian is particularly strong against Sigrid. But yeah, she's definitely pretty playable right now. And we have Bologna. Bologna is like a cult favorite, but I don't really like her that much. She has a positive matchup against like Assyria, Bellion, Ross, and you can cope and say Nodos, but I think Nodos can beat her up. Nodos has a lot of counterplay to beat her up, but Bellion, Ross, Assyria, um, like she's okay into Arunka, but I don't think she's like I know the frenzies benefit her too, but I feel like if you don't pick her into AoE, she's not good enough to be like that standalone damage dealer. Like I think I don't know, I would rather have Tori. And yeah, it doesn't help that she's weak to Tori, who was also recently buffed. Like between like Bologna and Tori, I'm definitely taking the Bologna, but also she just feels, I don't know, really awkward to play. Cause like she has a 40% chance of getting hit, right? What if you get hit by the Ross S3? What if you get hit by the Freeren S3? You just kind of blow up randomly. So yeah, I don't think she's too reliable. I do think she should be reserved for like a last pick against like a lot of AoE, but I don't know. I didn't feel that good playing her. But yeah, she's playable though. It's good that she has a good matchup into Bellion and Ross, because like, you know, Yoha, Belly, and Ross is usually very oppressive, but Bologna can deal with that. But she just kind of struggles with everything else. So yeah, I think she's not bad, but she struggles a lot. But you know, she's more pickable than most units in the game. Then we have the Yellow Tenebria. Yeah, Yellow Tenebria is still really strong against slow people that you can outspeed and just murder. Um, I do think there's less she's not as good as Sigrid. Sigrid is definitely the premier debuffer, but Tenebria is like a close second in with like her uncleansable debuffs. But it's yeah, she's more risky to pick though, cause like the thing about Sigrid is that like she can spam her debuffs, but if you miss with Tenebria, you kind of just lose. So yeah, she's still pretty good, but I think she's just like an inferior version of Sigrid right now, which is why she's down here. Then we have Bellion, but Bellion's here because you know because of Yuha. I don't think Bellion is really worth picking outside of being being comboed with Yuha. Still really good otherwise. Because like there's a lot of units that just punish AoE now. But yeah, still decent. And Ross, the same thing. Well, I mean, Ross is decently standalone. You don't need to pick Yulha with him. Like, he has a lot of synergy with like DN too. Like DN Ross is an insane combo. DN Yulha, oh sorry. Yulha Ross is insane. I don't know. Ross is just a solid unit. Like big damage, good seal utility, but he has a lot of counterplay though. He's a very solid unit. But also, you know, if Ilinav is pre-banned, he's like even better. But yeah, decent unit. However, but Bologna has a decent matchup against him, so picking him early is kind of whatever now. And then we have Setsuka. Setsuka will never go away. And Setsuka will always be a really good late pick to like screw with people. Like, you know, RNG is pretty insane in this game. On top of 15%, you're gonna have a 30% chance to miss everything. It's like Setsuka like majorly swings RNG in her favor, but unfortunately you can't really pick her that early. She's okay as a 3-4, but it's pretty whatever. Kind of has the same issues as this area. And like, you know, Tori kind of dumpsters her too naturally. Then we have Celine. So Celine had a pretty big fall from grace. I'm not gonna lie. Celine struggles against Velian. She struggles against Asteria. Satsuka is not a great matchup for her. Um, back in the day, it used to be Celine, Freerun, and Ross that were like the best damage dealers. Cause like they kind of counter each other, but now like Celine can't even do much against Freerun, cause like I don't know. There's a lot of things that deal with Celine. Like Celine has a bad matchup into DN. She has a bad matchup into Nodos now. She has a bad matchup into a lot of things. Like I don't really see Celine being that good unless you can protect her with speed because she doesn't really back herself up that much, unlike Freerun and stuff. But I still think she's playable. She was like the original you know, Arunka protect Celine shenanigans. Still playable, but a lot harder to play. And then we have the A tier. So these units, they're worth having built, but you won't pick them that much compared to like the tier 0 and the S tier. And basically, a lot of games will probably only have S tier units minimum. Because they kind of cover everything, right? There's damage dealers, there's lots of supports, there's lots of shenanigans. But But sometimes, you know, sometimes people will pick like some weird drafts because they don't have all the units, and then like you can slam these as like weird counter picks. So yeah. So first we have Harsetti. Realistically, Harsetti. Okay, here. Let me outline when Harsetti is good. One, when you have a Runka. Two, when you have a Reviver. Three, when you have Ross. Four, when you have. Sorry. You must have like multiple of the included, or multiple of what I listed, right? She cannot fight revivers. She cannot fight Arunka. She cannot fight Ross. She cannot fight DN. She cannot fight Scales. But Harsetti can punish people who pick opener really early. But you must have Arunka and stuff to protect your Harsetti. Yeah, you kind of see where I'm going with this. Like, the best time to play Harsetti is when you're second pick and you have a Runka minimum, and preferably a Reviver or Ross, and then you go Harsetti plus like Flan or something 3-4. Because Harsetti Flan is the very classic opener punishing 3-4. But otherwise, sorry, but otherwise she's pretty unplayable. Like, she needs very specific conditions to be playable. And then we have Luna. Luna these days, unless you're putting like super top speed on her, like unless you're 320, Luna these days is just like a last pick debuffer against people who don't pick cleanser early, and she's pretty decent at that. And then we have Hecate. Hecate honestly is just a last pick unit for when, like, you know, you need to counter revives, because if you pick her early, and people will try to run you down. Yada yada. Let's see, strays, you know, strays is strays. You last pick him to like kill people who pick too greedy. Nothing crazy, same as always. Although the 20% warrior damage frenzy helps him quite a bit, but that is only in 25% of games. And then we have Landy. If for some reason the other person doesn't have AoE and they have a lot of buffs, Landy is playable. That's pretty much it. And then we have Aki. If for some reason the other person is not contesting speed, Aki is kind of pickable to like kill everything, but you ideally want a reviver too, so they can't pick revivers. But Aki has a lot of damage potential. But he shines if you play strip openers like Emerald Poly. A very high potential unit. Then we have Sharon. Sharon is a cleave bridge with Renak. She's okay. She's okay against Sigrid too, but usually loses against Sigrid unless you're being extremely aggressive. Aram. Aram is really good for dealing with people who just randomly pick Harsetti. Usually Aram will destroy Harsetti most of the time, because like you can't get Abyssal Crown, and then you can just blow her up. Like Aram free run almost always beats Harsetti drafts. And also Aram is okay against people who will randomly slam like, you know, like Fire Litica or like Dark Lua, and then like if they outspeed you, you get 3-turn immunity, which is really good. But otherwise, whatever. Then we have Hua Young. Contrary to popular belief, Black Hua Young is not very good at killing light units. The best use of Black Hua Young is 1v4ing people who overcommit to debuffers. If you try to use her as a white unit killer, you will be very disappointed, because there's a lot of ways for her to fail. Then we have green Yuha. Unfortunately, one of like the only decent counters to like free run cleaves or something. If you play green Yuha, it gives you a chance to play like little Senya later on, who's really good. Like, this combo is just like super anti-AoE and debuffs in general, which is really nice. But that's about it. Now blue Elena. Yeah, Elena is okay against Bryceria, who is very, very strong if you're gear gapping people. That's the only reason why Elena is here. She's okay against Bryceria, although you do need to be really fast, like 280 or 270. ML Ball is very rarely good against some cleaves who, you know, like someone picks like Renak and like a lot of like shenanigans. Like ML Ball will cut their cleave and hopefully do something. But the E kind of sucks against ER Frenzy. Then Mord is a staple counter pick for anyone picking the white Assyria earlier than last pick. Mord's very, very high win rate because of that. So yeah, I'd highly recommend having him geared. Really nice. Moon Bunny is actually really good against anyone who's like committing to like taking extra turns. Like Moon Bunny versus Renak has potential to be good, but just make sure you don't get counterplayed. Like Renak can just press S3 and then Moon Bunny is useless, but yeah, Moon Bunny's okay. Then we have Ahmed. Ahmed is like openers that are 300 speed, but also like make you cleave. Like they're pretty good in general. Cause like if you play DPS on 3 and the other person's like, you know, threatening you with like Sigrid, what if you pick Ahmed and then boost your DPS on 3 and then just kill the other guy before they can do anything? Like my favorite way to deal with turn 2 players last season is I would have free run on 3 and then I would slam Ahmed and plus another enabler and then free run's gonna kill everything. Yeah, Ahmed still decent as a last pick. Emma Arya, very rarely will someone pick like a kind of like a janky book cleave and then you just slam Arya and then you stop their soul burn and then GG. She's pretty whatever otherwise. Like she's okay with Yuha, but she's very reliant on Yuha, so I don't really like her in general. She's also weak to Arunka, and she doesn't properly counter free run. But she's a thing. Lionheart is, you know, with like Assyria, Setsuka, and now the new Kali. I think Lionheart is actually a really decent unit. Well, issue is I wish I had 2 of her because I think there's value in like a nuclear Lionheart and there's value in like a 260 Lionheart that can cut Kali. But yeah, Lionheart pretty sick unit right now actually. Then we have Fire Flan. If you are desperate for a damage dealer, Fire Flan is okay sometimes still. And she had quite the fall off because she can't kill anything anymore. But she's still pretty good with Harseti against Harseti. If you play openers that S1 on their first turn, Fireflan, you know, pretty good with them. But otherwise, pretty whatever unit. Too many counter picks to be picked early. You know, if LRK, yeah, LRK is some premier anti AoE shenanigans like Crown of Glory. He's pretty good against Bellion. He's okay against Freeren if you take away her revivers, otherwise he kind of sucks, but yeah, he's okay. LRK plus Ruel is really good in particular because like LRK resets her already low cooldowns and is really toxic. FCC is pretty decent if you need like protection against fixed damage like Renak and you don't have the Maid Chloe option. Arrowwell is actually a pretty good cheese unit right now. If you have Halag's Lance Arrow can cut random things, I'll probably have a video on that soon. She's really funny. She's a pretty good tech unit. Yeah, not bad. Then we have Lua. She's just a late pick debuffer. Like if you have a 300 speed Lua, you can kind of use her to counter Sigrid. And Fire Ada. She's a decent answer to Bryceria if you are really fast and you have Guide to a Decision, otherwise whatever. AOL. She's also a tech pick into the new Kali because AOL can AOL prevents the Kali from stunning your team because she will cleanse the bombs or like the stun or something, I don't remember. Katie's always a tech pick against people who take way too many turns and then they get caught. Um, Crimson Armin, highest raw mitigation in the game. She's okay, but mitigation is pretty whatever in general. Chrissy is actually surprisingly good. Giving your backline 300 ER is pretty good against anyone who's being aggressive without pre-banning Bellion. Yeah, like imagine you can't, imagine your Nodos is hiding behind Christy and he can't be stunned by Kali. Like, that's really good. Then we have Solitaria, very standard. She's anti, what's it called? She's anti-focus, that's about it. Then we have Zeno, newly buffed. He's just a passive bot. If he lets you hit Setsuka and Bologna at a pretty high rate, I'd probably recommend building this guy as tanky as possible because like they'll just kill him. And yeah, that is it for A tier. And to be honest, I don't even know if B tier is even worth going over because like these units, a lot of these units are either just extremely rare picks or they had like a huge fall off, right? Like Peyra is pretty whatever now. See Lilius is pretty whatever now, but I don't know where to put them. Like maybe I should make like a fallen off tier. But these units, they're pickable in very rare cases, and they're kind of low priority. But yeah, I don't think there's much to say about them. But yeah, I guess that's about it. Hopefully it was helpful. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. But yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you.